Boundaries create value because boundaries define what you stand for, what you allow, and what you protect. Most people lose their sense of value not because they lack talent or skill, but because they allow too many things, too many people, and too many distractions to invade their time and attention. When you set boundaries, you are sending a message to the world that your time has meaning, your energy has purpose, and your life has direction. Without boundaries, your energy becomes scattered, your purpose gets diluted, and your identity begins to blur. The more you say yes to everything, the less power your yes holds. Learning to say no is not rejection, it's protection. It is the act of guarding your purpose from things that do not align with your mission. You know, every successful person understands this truth. Value doesn't come from being available to everyone. It comes from being available for the right things. When you make yourself constantly accessible, you teach others that your presence is ordinary. But when you reserve your energy for what truly matters, your presence becomes powerful. Myron Golden often reminds us that the key to wealth, growth, and influence is understanding that time is your most expensive asset. You can always make more money, but you can never make more time. Boundaries teach people how to treat your time. They show others that access to you must be earned, not assumed. You know, imagine a mentor who answers every call, attends every event, says yes to every request, and never takes time to recharge. That person might seem helpful, but over time, they lose depth, focus, and clarity. Their energy fades because their life has no filter. But imagine someone who chooses wisely where to invest their attention, who listens selectively, works intentionally, and gives strategically. That person becomes magnetic. People begin to respect their time because they know it's valuable. They understand that when this person shows up, something meaningful is about to happen. That's the power of boundaries. They amplify your worth by focusing your energy where it produces the greatest impact. You know, boundaries are not walls, they are gates. They do not keep everyone out. They simply control what gets in. When you decide who and what deserves your time, you are taking authority over your destiny. You are no longer living reactively, responding to everyone's expectations, but proactively, guided by your vision and values. Myron Golden emphasizes that wealth and wisdom grow in environments of focus. Distraction is the enemy of destiny. Every time you allow an unnecessary conversation, an unproductive relationship, or a meaningless task to consume your energy, you are spending value that could have been invested in something greater. You know, think about how nature models this principle. The ocean doesn't overflow its boundaries. It knows where it begins and where it ends. The sun shines on everyone, but its heat is most intense where it's concentrated. The same applies to your energy. You can't shine everywhere and expect to make an impact. You must choose where to shine the brightest. Boundaries help you concentrate your power. They help you move from being busy to being effective, from being drained to being directed. You know, setting boundaries also builds respect, both self-respect and external respect. When you honor your own time, others begin to do the same. When you prioritize your purpose, others start to prioritize you differently. People can sense when someone values themselves and they treat that person accordingly. That's why Myron Golden often says your price in the marketplace is determined by your perceived value. And that perception begins with how you treat yourself. If you treat your time as cheap, others will too. If you treat your energy as precious, others will honor it. Now, sometimes people will resist your boundaries because they benefited from your lack of them. When you start saying no to things that once drained you, they might call you distant, prideful, or selfish. But understand this, protecting your peace is not selfish, it's sacred. You can't pour into others from an empty cup. You can't give your best if you're constantly exhausted. Boundaries are how you refill, refocus, and recharge. They give you the space to think, to grow, to create, and to connect with your purpose again. You know, when you limit access to your time, you increase the quality of your output. You move from being reactive to being intentional. You stop working for approval and start operating from purpose. You stop chasing validation and start creating value. And when you operate in that space, opportunities begin to chase you instead of you chasing them. The more disciplined you are with your boundaries, the more attractive your energy becomes. People don't just see what you do, they feel who you are. Boundaries make your presence stronger because they allow you to show up fully, focused, passionate, and undistracted. Ultimately, boundaries are a form of stewardship. You've been given time, gifts, and energy by God, and how you manage them determines what you multiply. When you waste them on everything and everyone, you limit your ability to grow. But when you protect them, refine them, and invest them wisely, you multiply your impact. That's why people who live with boundaries don't burn out. They build up. They are clear, confident, and consistent. They understand that every no to distraction is a yes to destiny. And in a world where everyone is fighting for attention, the person who guards their focus will always rise in value. Energy is currency because everything you do, everything you give, and everything you create requires energy. Just like money, you can spend it, invest it, or waste it, and how you manage it determines the level of success, peace, and purpose you experience in life. Myron Golden often says that wealth begins in your mindset and manifests through your management. That doesn't only apply to finances, it applies to your emotional, mental, and spiritual energy too. When you protect your energy, you protect your future. When you learn to spend your energy on the right things, you begin to attract the right results. Many people are exhausted not because they work too hard, but because they waste energy on things that don't pay them back. They're emotionally overdrafting their spiritual bank account by giving energy to negativity, drama, fear, and people who drain instead of develop them. Your energy is the invisible currency that fuels your dreams. It determines your focus, your creativity, and your ability to act. When your energy is low, your vision becomes blurry and your confidence begins to fade. You start doubting yourself, overthinking decisions, and losing momentum. But when your energy is high and aligned, everything feels lighter, clearer, and more powerful. You move with purpose instead of pressure. You act with clarity instead of confusion. That's why Myron Golden teaches that success flows through stewardship, and one Zeich of the greatest forms of stewardship is how you manage your energy. You must know where your energy goes, who drains it, and what renews it. Think of your energy like money in a bank account. Every morning you wake up with a certain balance. Every conversation, task, and emotion either withdraws or deposits energy. If you keep spending on things that bring no return, gossip, comparison, regret, fear, you'll end your day in emotional debt. But if you invest your energy into growth, gratitude, purpose, and faith, your balance multiplies. The problem is most people don't track their energy. They track time, they track money, but they never track what drains or feeds their soul. Protecting your energy starts with awareness. You have to recognize what environments empower you and which ones empty you. You can't rise in value if your energy is always on sale. Some people will demand your time, your advice, your attention, but they have no intention of growing from it. They just want to consume your energy to fill their void. And if you let them, they'll keep withdrawing until you have nothing left for yourself. That's why discernment is vital. Not everyone who asks for your energy deserves it. You must learn the difference between people who use your energy and people who multiply it. Myron Golden often says, association brings assimilation. Whoever you spend energy with, you eventually become like. If you hang around people with low frequency, those who complain, criticize, or doubt, your energy level drops to match theirs. But if you surround yourself with faith-driven, purpose-minded people, your energy begins to rise. Your confidence strengthens and your results improve. Protecting your energy doesn't mean avoiding people, it means aligning with purpose. It means understanding that your emotional and mental state determine how effective you are in every area of life. When you give your energy to negativity, you are feeding the wrong kingdom. Every moment of frustration, envy, or self-doubt steals a deposit from your internal account. But every act of gratitude, discipline, and faith adds more power to your balance. Energy doesn't just affect how you feel, it affects how you perform, how you speak, and how you attract opportunities. People can sense your energy before they hear your words. That's why some people walk into a room and change the atmosphere. They carry power because they protected their energy from pollution. Just like financial investors diversify wisely, you must diversify your energy investments. Spend it where it compounds, in relationships that build you, in work that fulfills you, in habits that strengthen you, and in faith that grounds you. Avoid energy leaks, arguments, overthinking, social comparison, and emotional clutter. Every time you waste energy on something you can't control, you weaken your ability to influence what you can. Energy management is not about doing less, it's about doing what matters most. You don't need to be available for every conversation, every favor, or every invitation. You need to be intentional about what aligns with your vision. Even your thoughts are energy. What you think about consistently shapes how you feel and act. When you fill your mind with negativity, you're spending energy on fear-based thoughts that create no return. But when you feed your mind with wisdom, scripture, and faith-based principles, you're investing in spiritual wealth. Myron Golden emphasizes that prosperity starts inside before it shows outside. That means your external results are a reflection of your internal energy. If you feel poor inside, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, you'll never experience richness on the outside. But if you cultivate peace, faith, and gratitude, you begin to attract abundance. Rest is also part of energy management. Just as money needs circulation, your energy needs renewal. You can't keep giving without refilling. Taking time to pray, meditate, reflect, or simply rest isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Rest restores creativity. Rest strengthens intuition. Rest reconnects you to your purpose. When you operate from rest instead of restlessness, your energy becomes magnetic. You stop chasing and start attracting. Your energy determines your environment. If you carry frustration, you'll find frustration everywhere. If you carry peace, you'll find solutions everywhere. Energy is a mirror that reflects your internal condition into your external reality. Protecting it is how you take control of your atmosphere. It's how you elevate your worth without demanding it. People don't value you because you shout louder. They value you because your energy speaks power before your words do. That's the difference between presence and pressure. Presence attracts, pressure repels. When you manage your energy like the precious currency it is, you begin to experience clarity, confidence, and consistency that separates you from the crowd. Rarity increases demand because what is uncommon becomes desirable, and what is easily accessible loses its perceived worth. The principle applies to everything in life, from products and services to people and purpose. When something is rare, it's not because it's unavailable, it's because it's valuable. Myron Golden teaches that your value multiplies when you learn how to separate yourself from the ordinary. People often confuse humility with overexposure. They think being humble means being constantly accessible, saying yes to everything and being available to everyone. But true humility is stewardship, understanding that your gifts, time, and purpose are sacred and must be used wisely. When you are everywhere, you lose mystery. When you're always available, you lose power. Rarity creates anticipation, and anticipation builds respect. Think about gold and diamonds. They are precious not just because of their beauty, but because they are difficult to find and hard to refine. Their value comes from scarcity, process, and exclusivity. If gold were as common as sand, no one would treasure it. The same principle applies to you. When you guard your time, focus, and energy, you make yourself rare. And when you are rare, people pay attention. Your presence begins to command respect because it's no longer taken for granted. When you show up less but show up stronger, people notice the difference. They begin to associate your presence with value. Rarity teaches others that your time is precious and your contribution meaningful. No, being rare doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means being intentional about your presence. It means choosing quality over quantity. Myron Golden often says, don't chase people, attract them. When you position yourself as valuable, the right people will find you. You don't need to broadcast every move, respond to every message, or attend every opportunity. When you operate with purpose, your silence speaks louder than noise. The world notices what is limited because it has weight, not volume. The people who try to please everyone end up losing themselves, but those who serve the right few create impact that multiplies. In every market, scarcity drives demand. Whether it's luxury brands, limited editions, or exclusive memberships, people are willing to pay more when access is limited. The same psychology applies to relationships, business, and influence. If you're always available, people assume your time isn't valuable. But when you manage your availability, your worth increases. The world responds to boundaries. When you start saying no to unnecessary access, people start saying yes to your value. The law of rarity rewards those who know how to preserve their worth. Look at how leaders, mentors, and visionaries operate. They don't spread themselves thin. They understand that overexposure weakens impact. They choose where to show up because they know every appearance carries weight. Myron Golden emphasizes that your presence must have purpose. When you treat your presence as sacred, others will treat it as significant. When you become intentional about where your energy flows, your influence grows. People are drawn to what feels exclusive, what feels refined, and what feels purposeful. That's why rarity is magnetic. It draws without chasing. Rarity also creates focus. When you're selective with your time, you give your best self to the right opportunities. You stop wasting energy on things that don't align with your destiny. You start showing up only where your presence produces purpose. The fewer places your energy is scattered, the more powerful it becomes where it's concentrated. That's why the most effective people aren't the busiest. They're the most selective. They understand that constant activity is not productivity. Rarity refines effectiveness. It filters distraction and magnifies excellence. Rarity also builds anticipation. When people can't always access you, they value the moments when they do. Your time, your message, and your attention carry more weight because they're not handed out carelessly. Just like a rare gemstone must be sought after, your energy must be earned through alignment and respect. People naturally treasure what they must wait for. When you make yourself too accessible, you rob others of the chance to appreciate your worth. When you pull back, you give others room to recognize your value. In relationships, the same law applies. When you overgive, overshare, and overextend yourself, people begin to take your presence for granted. But when you hold your space with confidence, you teach others to approach with respect. This doesn't mean arrogance, it means awareness. You are aware of your worth, your calling, and your purpose. You are aware that your time and energy are finite resources that must be guarded. Myron Golden reminds us that God designed us to be stewards, not slaves. Stewardship means managing what you've been given wisely. When you understand that your presence has power, you stop handing it out cheaply. The most valuable things in life are never easy to access. You don't walk into a store and pick up gold bars off the shelf. You don't casually find diamonds lying in the dirt. They are protected, refined, and revealed at the right time. The same principle applies to destiny. You can't fulfill your purpose by being everywhere for everyone. You must go through a refining process, choosing where to invest your energy, when to show up, and who deserves your presence. The process of becoming rare is the process of becoming valuable.